Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and another video. Today, we are recapping the gameplay feature premiere, I guess is what they're calling these. Basically, everything that's new with gameplay, they did in like an hour-long stream. I'm going to try to recap everything they said in about 15 minutes. For those of you that don't want to sit through an hour of Ramon's nonsense. That covers pitching, hitting, fielding. This is gameplay. This is animations. This is everything that you need to know about hitting, nerfs, buffs, pitching, nerfs, and buffs, and fielding, the animations and stuff. So like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy this kind of video. We're going to do more of these, for sure, as these come out. I believe March to October is next. It could be presentation, though. Let's just dive right into it. Okay, the first kind of thing they talked about on stream is they're recapping all the numbers from last year. So that includes like pitches and swings and singles, doubles, home runs, triples. I don't know if you guys will find that interesting. I know I did. The one thing I learned from this is people need to take more pitches. Not super important information here, just a recap from last year if y'all are interested. And then the other interesting thing I found, this over here says difficulty on this side, but it says Rookie, Veteran, All-Star, Legend, Hall of Fame. I'm going to move my face cam over for this one. This one's going to be quick because I don't feel like a lot of people asked for them despite what the devs said. But they added a custom practice mode that includes hitting, pitching, and fielding. So you can player lock as a fielder, which they showed examples of, but you can pick what position. You can choose a hit type between like ground ball, fly ball, line drive, bunt, all of that. You can click repeat hit or not. Theoretically, this means that you could practice your diving catches or robbed home runs. You could practice situational for like your road to the show stuff. There's a lot of possibilities within this. I don't know how many people are actually going to use it, but it seems like it's something that they have as a dev tool that they just added into the game. So it doesn't feel like a lot of resources would have gone into this. So it's kind of a cool ad. They added 2 new difficulties to the game, and these are both going to be below rookie. So they're not going to be between All-Star and Hall of Fame or Veteran and All-Star or whatever. They're going to be beginner level people. I believe this, if I had to guess, would be geared towards Switch players because there's going to be a lot of new players on the Nintendo Switch and Xbox too, for that matter. The game's only been over there for one time, and I believe it's free on Game Pass. But this is designed for new players. So an accessible difficulty level that balances the gameplay experience and success for new users. I believe they said on amateur, it's basically piping you fastballs and helping you learn like the timing and stuff. And then on minors, maybe they start throwing in some like breaking pitches. But it's designed to set you up for success. I think this would be great for like young kids, getting like 7 or 8-year-olds maybe into the game, maybe like even younger than that if parents are into that kind of thing. But yeah, this is what the 2 new difficulty levels are that they talked about earlier. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about here is the PCI. I'm going to use their video kind of as an example. They added a thing called a dynamic PCI, which we can talk about here. Hopefully my little bar at the bottom doesn't bother this, but you can see how kind of the PCI gets smaller at the bottom there than it does in the middle. So that is designed for the reason of limiting foul balls. Foul balls were an issue last year, and we're going to talk more about how they nerfed foul balls this year, and really just keeping at-bats alive that wouldn't ordinarily be kept alive in actual real-life baseball. One of the ways they've done that is with dynamic PCI. So the way this kind of works is in the middle, you have a standard size PCI like is here, but as you move it further outside or the pitches out of the zone, the PCI will actually shrink. And that is true for both the inside and outside PCI sizes. So that is a contact and vision nerf, and that is just for pitches outside the zone. So the PCI will remain the same size until you get to about where my mouse here is. And then after that, it will start to shrink. The other thing, while we're talking about this, is they have nerfed contact swings. And this is, again, in tandem with the dynamic PCI to help limit the amount of unnecessary long at-bats that would happen in like your BR games or your ranked games or whatever. Basically what would happen is you would hit circle and you would make contact on something that your PCI wasn't even close to. So what they've done is for contact swings only, they've nerfed it. Power swings, I believe, work the same way. But the contact swings, they have added a contact nerf on pitches out of the zone. And in total, no matter where you use contact swing, they have nerfed the power on it as well. So contact swings are now designed more for like slapping the ball the other way or like ground ball base hits or whatever. So you're not going to have as much pop. So contact swing nerf in tandem with the PCI, I think, should help pitchers get you out if you are chasing. Again, the contact inside the zone will stay the same, but overall the power when you're using a contact swing is going to be nerfed overall. Okay, let's talk about Pci Anchor. This is the last big hitting note that they had. So if you guys played in the beta or the tech test, I'm going to use those interchangeably for the rest of the video. I'm going to call it the beta probably because it's shorter. You had a Pci Anchor, and basically what that does is you press in L3, which you can see here, and you hover your thing over one of these dots, and then you can let go of your control stick, and your Pci will start there. So what that does kind of is it will mess with your sensitivity a little bit of your PCI, allow you to get to pitches easier, and it allows you to start your PCI, say you get burned up and in constantly. It doesn't let you sit completely up and in where you don't have to move your PCI to reach that up and in corner right there. It starts you here, and you still have to move your PCI, so there still is skill involved, but it helps you start up there and get your PCI to that place a lot quicker. The way they kind of explained it is in real life, a batter is able to move himself in the box. Say a pitcher's pitching him away, you're able to creep up an inch or two on the plate. So he's pounding you in, you're able to move back, or you're able to move back in the box if he's throwing hard, or up in the box if it's not coming in as fast. There's no real way to do that in MLB The Show outside of like retro mode, right? But if you're playing like in ranked or BR or, online versus and franchise, whatever version of the game that you're playing, if a pitcher's pitching you up and in and you consistently cannot get to it in this game historically, you've been kind of screwed because there's no way to combat that. This way, you're able to set your PCI in a place that you know that you're going to be able to easier get to the pitch that's burning you, and you're going to be able to hit that pitch easier and make them pitch you a different way. I don't think it will be OP. I'm sure if it is, they will nerf it. SDS is normally pretty good about it, but that is kind of what PCI anchoring is. Okay, they also gave us a recap on how physics kind of works in the game and in real life, really. For higher exit velocities, if it's inside, you want to catch the ball just early. Most of you guys probably know this. It's pretty logical. I know a lot of people complain about, yeah, my ball, I was just early on it. Why wasn't it gone? Well, maybe the pitch was outside and you should have swung a little bit later. So middle, obviously you want to swing on time. Early, you want to get the barrel of your bat to it. Outside, you want to swing a little bit later. And that is how to get the highest exit velocities in the game. Let's talk about par. They've made a couple of changes to par, which is your pitch accuracy region. And that is what these dark circles outside the ball are. So we can see here, same pitch here. Both of these are sliders. You're going to see that the perfect accuracy region down here for a slider is much smaller than the perfect accuracy region up here. That's because in real life, a pitch down here is going to be more effective. And the only way that they can do that, replicate that really in game, is limit how accurate it is and how much it breaks in game. So what you're going to see is the further down that an off-speed pitch goes, the more it is going to break and the more accurate it is going to be. The higher up it is, you can see here, less break, comes in a little bit flatter, and the perfect accuracy region is bigger. And that is just to try to avoid some of that like up and in curveball cheese, up and in sinker cheese, higher off speed, like a high changeup shouldn't be as effective as maybe it was in previous years. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the perfect accuracy region. The pinpoint changes. It is going to be much harder this year. They have bumped it because everybody got really good at it very quickly, which again, another skill gap. I think it's probably a win for the game overall. It's going to be easier to get good inputs on off-speed pitches. That would be like a changeup, a circle change, a curveball, a slider. It's going to be easier to get good inputs and perfect inputs on those pitches. It's going to be harder to get good inputs on fastballs. So that would be a fastball, a two-seamer, and a cutter. Those are the main changes made to pinpoint. Okay, so that little thing that the PAR changes is called dynamic par, the same way the PCI was called dynamic PCI, how it changes sizes. depending on where you're throwing a pitch or where your PCI is in the zone, it impacts these pitches. It impacts changeups, curveballs, circle change, forkball, knuckle curve, screwball, sinker, slider, slurve, splitter, sweeping curve, Vulcan change, 12-6 curve, and it does not impact a fastball, a two-seamer, and a cutter. Okay, the last thing for pitching is the Outlier Perk changes. The only main thing that y'all need to know is on this slide. There's a higher accuracy penalty on pitches that have outlier, i.e. DeGrom can no longer throw a 102-mile-an-hour fastball exactly where he wants it to every time. There also is a small velocity decrease. What I imagine that means is instead of like sitting at 102 if you're pitching with outlier, you're now sitting at maybe 100 or 101. I don't imagine that they can decrease it that much because that kind of it decreases how effective and useful the outlier perk is. There are 3 main types of gameplay styles in the show. I believe this has been in the show for previous years, but in case you guys didn't know, competitive is what all online games are defaulted to. Ranked, BR, online versus, I believe leagues, unless you set it differently as the commissioner, are set on competitive. Competitive also will weigh user skill and input a little bit higher than it does player ratings. So it is not 100% user skill because the ratings still matter, obviously. Casual is for those of you guys that want to just hit nukes. Maybe you're just picking up the game, you're learning, you're just kind of chilling. Casual mode is for you. And then simulation, they said, is 50-50 split between user input and player attribute. These are different than the difficulty level. The difficulty level basically is how small or big your PCI gets, how fast the pitch is coming in, how hard it is to locate pitches. This is just kind of how much your input is weighted versus the player's attributes that you're using. All right, last thing here, fielding. First thing they talked about, if you played the beta, you noticed perfect throws to every base. This is on non-force plays, so it does not affect like double plays or anything. I believe last year you could only do perfect throws at home, or if a runner was stealing a base, you are now able to do it from outfield to second, outfield to third, outfield to home, even infield to third on a tag play or infield to home. Okay, while this is playing, I'll talk about the rest of the fielding. They talked about how fielding rating still matters. I know they complained about that. People complained about that quite a bit last year. Why is my fielder getting a bad animation? Is because the tiers of fielding unlocks a different animation. So they talked about this last year. I'll brush up on it again here, probably more in depth than they did. But basically what happens is if you are a diamond fielder, say you are a 90 overall fielder, you have a different set of animations that you have access to than, say, a common fielder or a bronze fielder. So the example they used at some point in here is Francisco Lindor playing shortstop is going to be smoother in real life and have more range and be able to throw more people out at shortstop than, say, a Jeff McNeil at shortstop. This has been true forever, and they have verbalized it the last couple of years, but they reiterated it here. Now, another way that you can trigger animations better is by, as you can see on the bottom here, preloading your throws. So this is a good example here of that. Here is Jeff McNeil at shortstop. This is a ground ball. You can see he fields the ball. He's preloaded the throw, but he takes a couple of extra steps. Not going to get the runner, right? Because it's Jeff McNeil at shortstop. Not that he's a bad fielder, but we can see here on the replay, gets to the ground ball, takes 3 or 4 extra steps before he can gather himself and throw to first, and Marsh is safe. Now, here's the same play with Lindor. Lindor gets to it, preloads, throws immediately, gets Marsh by a step. And that's where the fielding rating, you can really see it come into play right there. The different animations that Lindor can branch to is different than the animations that McNeil can branch to. Okay, when I say branch, what does that mean, right? Branching is kind of a video game term for when you kind of go into an animation from another animation. or the list of animations that you're able to access from an animation, right? So Lindor, if you preload your throw, it automatically branches into an animation. McNeil branches into a different set or group of animations, a slower group of animations. They did a bunch more of these in motion capture this year, they said, so you should be able to notice more throws being made with more urgency, especially with the higher fielding overall players. They also talked about one key thing that they did this year is first baseman. They actually had first baseman catch the ball. That is not something that had been in the past, so you'll see more catch animations at first base. You will also see more animations of people knocking down balls at third base or at the corners rather than getting that Olay animation. Yeah, so here's a good example here. We can see the different kind of knockdown animations they had. This is to kind of alleviate how often the like Olay animation where he like gets to it and kind of like side swipes at it. This is some examples of that where you knock it down. You don't field it cleanly, right? But you knock it down enough to where you're able to chase it down and potentially still get an out without fielding it cleanly. So this is for those fielders maybe that are not like Nolan Arenado level. There's a good example of an Olay animation where you're not fielding those balls cleanly, but it's a hard hit ball. And this was something they focused on in motion capture as well, was those knockdown animations is what they called it. And it should help. So on a play like that, you can see the Olay animation plays and Rendon kind of fields it cleanly. And we'll get a good replay of that here. Ground ball at Rendon, picks it cleanly. That's a new animation in the game. Throw to first. That's probably an old animation with him catching it. But yeah, you have a different set of animations at hard hit balls at third, more than just either fielding it cleanly or the Olay animation where it gets by. All right, so that was it for the gameplay updates. Here's a list of them again. We covered pitching, hitting, fielding, new animations, new difficulties, custom practice has fielding, PCI Anchor, dynamic PCI range, pitching accuracy, region changes, pinpoint changes, all of that. We covered all of that in this video. That's all that they covered in the stream. This is going to be shorter than an hour for sure. And yeah, if you made it to this point in the video, comment the word Jets. And yeah, we'll catch y'all in the next one.